All right, guys, welcome back. And this time, I don't think I've ever gone over like what I recommend as like a good duo for anabolics or for PEDs, and why I choose those to begin with. It's just something that was brought up in a discussion board on Discord, and yeah, I thought I'd just go ahead and make a video about it because I'll tell you what goes on in my brain. But the question was asked like what's my preferred 1 to 2 combo to run? And so this goes a variety of different ways. My preference for myself and how I handle things, if I am uh, based on supply, like what I can get, and if it's real, it's test and masteron or test and EQ. EQ, I'm not the biggest fan because it does drop my it drops my estrogen too low because I'm not a big aromatizer, and uh, I've had medications, I'm assuming from whenever I was a child, that really messed up my hormone balance. But as I aged, I've always had like symptoms of low estrogen blood work with low estradiol, ultra sensitive, low estradiol as well. So I've been to the points where I've had estrogen pellets and I've seen huge improvements, right? Or taking some sort of anabolic that helps with more aromatization. It's like a D-ball and such. But I never felt good on those, and probably the blood pressure and such. But besides the fact of all that, um, so test and to F the ester based on however long you want to pin. I prefer a longer acting, so test cypionate or enanthate, but I prefer cypionate, test cypionate, and GH. That's just kind of like my go-to. I think it's a beginner stack. It's homogeneous, so your body produces those and knows what to do really, really well. It matches. It's like bioidentical, so it matches your own uh, DNA, right? So I think it puts less stress on your mitochondria when these two are stacked together. And now the amounts, I mean, it's kind of dependent on the user. So everything that I I say of like my preferred 1 to 2 combo, it's really your experience as a natural, your experience as a PED user, and what you're going for, like what your goals and blood work, and there's a lot of other variables that we look at. But test, cypionate, and growth hormone, that's what I prefer. Has like a longevity. Stick with it for the rest of your life. If you just want to look good, right? You want to be the best dad bod that you can be. Um, Test cypionate and mast enanthate. I prefer that for prep. Uh, and again, um, the dose is based on the person and how they handle things. Um, you can you can add more compounds on top of this, but again, the question was just the one or two combo. So the two combo that I'd run. Test cypionate and primo if for prep if you are a high aromatizer. So the primo can help with reducing estrogen. Uh, so this can let us get away with using less ancillaries if we need to control estrogen. And some people just respond better to Primo versus Masteron because Masteron can still have the estrogen, but somehow it blunts the symptoms of high estrogen. Testipinate and Anavar, I find this as like a really good one for HRT clinics, but also like someone who is like in modeling really wants their appearance kind of leaner. Um, and this is even good for people who already genetically have bubbly muscles. So like um, growth hormone, the test and growth hormone, I think is helps with the more bubbly muscle look, assuming that we're training in a specific way and getting our nutrition in. But the test and Anabar, it's just going to help with that lean, harder look, in my opinion. Um, the the next one, test cypionate and EQ. And this one I prefer for like powerlifting, strength, endurance sports. And then typically I like to see like an oral thrown in there. So usually, T-ball or halo, depending on the sport. But I don't see clients coming back having like uh, uh, their their speed or their endurance negated by EQ. A lot of times you're going to have that endurance is going to be higher, especially for like jujitsu or hybrid athletes, and you're going to find that you're going to have higher oxygen uptake. I think the blood viscosity of EQ is blown out of proportion. I think that is from uh, people who are underhydrated. I think we have a lot of things wrong uh, about hematocrit, hemoglobin, blood viscosity, and causing strokes and heart attacks. So the T-ball, we've seen that in the past from the Olympics with sports for power and endurance. I don't see that there being a problem with like fatigue or cramping or back pumps or anything. You can always mitigate that with taurine and other peptides or like um, CoQ10 seems to do a really good job as well. So taurine, CoQ10 together seems to be pretty good. Um, and the Halo, that's going to be more for like the power lifter, fighter, jiu-jitsu, BJJ, things like that. That needs that aggression right away. But again, those are kind of like my go-to for my 1 to 2 combos. Um, so you can take my advice. You can be like, um, you'd be like, oh man, Andrew, you're just a small guy. Well, I mean, I train and I eat and I do what I do because this is what I feel the best at. Could I get bigger? Yeah, I could. I could get smaller? Yeah, I could. But right now, I'm at like a really good place where I can still be like what people call like a hybrid athlete, right? So it's like I can still lift heavy and I have a lot more endurance. I don't lift to like powerlifting for that 1 rep max. I don't compete anymore, so like it's kind of pointless. Um, I'd rather do a relatively high weight, slow, controlled movements and do a lot of them, right? I think that's more impressive, right? So like what you see like Nick Walker doing, I think that's super impressive. Control it, squeeze the muscle. It's kind of like a Milo Sarchez kind of perspective. I think that that's really, really cool. Volume training with the weight but not so much ballistic. Because I think we see in other people like Branch Warren, Ronnie Coleman, I think they're a little bit more ballistic, not as controlled as we see Nick Walker and Justin Shire. So I like that. I think that's cool. I also like cycling, right? So like it would benefit me to be lighter because keep in mind, like I'm 6 foot. Before my surgery in April, I was like 225 after, and then like a month after the surgery for my last appointment, like checkup with the urologist. I think I was down to like 205 or something. So not the weight that I really want to be at, right? I want to be up a little bit more, but I feel a lot more energetic now and I have a lot more endurance cycling. Like I just got done cycling. But then I also worked out this morning, so I can split up my days and I feel good, right? So I can still kind of lift heavy, have that endurance, get my nutrition in, and then still have the endurance on the cycling bike because I that's something that I really enjoy is cycling, and I'm really good at for the power output. So like if you guys have ever done like the ergo bike and stuff like in labs, I mean those things can see your maximum output. You can see your VO2 output, I'm good at that. So I do my cycle for what I have my goal set for. And that's something that you just have to kind of figure out for yourself. Like, what do you want your goals to be? And then you can always change those goals. They're always going to change based on experience or life events. So like if you have a family or if you have a job change, like with a shift change, like shift work, if you have some sort of injury, recovery techniques that you have to do while the injury heals, maybe you do something else, like your goals change, and you can switch up what you're taking. You can increase it, you can lower it, you can change your compounds, you can try something new. So if you've never tried being like a hybrid athlete, and you're interested in it, you know, put the effort that you're doing with bodybuilding or with endurance or with powerlifting and put that into the hybrid. techniques, right? I think it's cool to see people like Dom and Matt Jansen and Dom Kuza, uh, that group from like Raw Revive and Cadence. But then you also see like what Nick Bear does, and I mean they're all using their energy and what they have on hand, peptides and in hormone therapy, um, very specific to what their goal is, and they're all performing very, very well. And they look better, they feel better, their demeanor's better. You can just see a difference in some of their posts. Um, and I don't really watch their YouTube, but like their post on social media, you can kind of get that feel. So I think that's it. Just kind of like a small video about that. Oh yeah, someone also asked about like why like I'm with affiliated with Paramount Peptides, and I really like the products that they have, but I'm really big into like growth hormone and not so much the secretagogues or the um, gonadotropin releasing hormones. But there is a time and place for everything, and it really comes down to like what again, your age, your goal. Are you uh, what's the word? Do you have a genetic defect where you're not hitting puberty? So you might be prescribed something like Kisspeptin a little bit earlier, so you can stimulate like an gonadotropin releasing hormone, to LH and FSH. Can it be better for libido and desire? Can that be, can you have a better result from this versus PT141? I think you got to kind of try Kisspeptin out for that. The regulation for appetite, for cardiometabolic regulation. There's a lot of things that kisspeptin is good for, but people think that it's going to be similar to growth hormone, which it's not. So, like, I recommend growth hormone for a specific person with a specific goal and outcome, and when they have that expectation. And I don't want to, you know, it it makes me feel bad if they don't if I don't help them meet their expectations in a very timely manner, a realistically timely manner, and with the least amount of adverse effects and side effects. So, um, yeah, I see a purpose for GnRH uh, peptides, but not for everybody. And blood work and how you respond to other peptides or other drugs really tells me a lot if it's going to be worth it or not. Because that's like going to be another big thing about these compounds, like my preferred stack of PEDs, like Test and Masteron. It's like how well do you not only metabolize and utilize these drugs, but how well do you clear them out, and how do your organs handle the clearance? Does it really make them overwork? Like you don't want your organs to be fatigued because we've all felt that symptom, right? And so if your overall body is feeling fatigued, like, man, I just worked such a long day, 9 to 5, and now, I don't have the energy to go work out, and you just want to sit there and binge on TV. Well, that's probably there's something going on in your body that is like your organs, they feel the same way, right? Like to a certain extent. So like we need to manage fatigue, but we also have to keep in mind that these drugs and peptides that we are taking, sometimes they can cause that fatigue, or they can help us regulate it and make our mitochondria better and more efficient and help increase that energy output throughout the day, throughout the week. And that the one thing that I'm seeing and that I battle with is, yeah, you have great productive energy throughout the day. Um, you have the discipline. You don't really need the motivation. But when it comes down to sleep, it's sometimes hard to find that sleep hygiene. Maybe because we just were cranked up on such uh, like high, like how do I even put this? Like like my mitochondria are just so high functioning. It's just it throws off the circadian rhythm, um, and melatonin's not being produced as well. So like my serotonin might not be um metabolized well enough to break down into releasing melatonin at night when it needs to, and you know I can see that being an outcome. And it's kind of like an Adderall effect, but without the the like methamphetamine effect. Uh, so the more that I use these things and I have clients use these things and the feedback that they give me, it's like we know whenever enough is enough. We know when to take our foot off the gas and kind of let it coast a bit before we start putting our foot on the brake. And that'll be the next thing that needs to start being managed, because we are so into getting energy, but sometimes I think that makes us blind to the sleep hygiene. So um, that's what I will be focusing on for myself and others, is really managing this and seeing, how long some of these peptides should be used. And as of right now, data from from um, from journals and such, it's not applicable to humans because there's not human trials that are really applicable to us to be optimal for athletes. A lot of it's just trial and error and anecdotal for what we see. So unless we're being told by clients or letting the information out from ourselves, I don't think we're going to figure these things out. So, anyways, this is probably super boring and probably won't get a lot of views, but if you could just leave more comments and can you share this video to let this information out? I think that the first time stacks of the first two compounds that someone dabbles into is very important and will set their future up with success or failure. So, like, share, comment, subscribe if you got this far. And I'll be back with another topic. Hopefully, you guys give me some.